what's going on, everybody? I am Nick. We got Richie over here.
Hey.
And we are joined by a special guest, Sam Howells from
Hi.
Sledgehammer Games. What's up, man?
That's me. I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Welcome. So you are a senior level designer,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Zombies, the Shadowed Throne. And this is part of the Season Pass, Part 2, the War Machine.
Yep.
And so let's just get in there, because likelihood of us dying early and
It's
having to
high,
start
yeah.
over is
It's
high.
high.
So
It's high.
Let's
It's
ready
very
up.
high, especially with just
do
3
this.
people.
Well, anyway, I guess where we should start is, I'm gonna go with medic, by the way. Where we should start is, how does this continue the story from the first 2 parts of Nazi Zombies that we've already kind of seen? How does this continue that story?
So if you remember the end of The Darkest Shore, which was the last DLC, the characters were just running, jumping, just about escaping onto an airship to get, they don't know where they're going, they've just managed to escape the big exploding island. And that was all we knew from the last time. So at the start of this, when we see the load movie, we'll see that you're actually on a massive, massive fleet of airships, and they're all heading towards Berlin, because Berlin was the last kind of vestige of the German defense in World War II.
Right.
And in our alternate take, in our historical fiction, Straub has decided, well, the Russians are here, but I'm going to come in with my big fleet of airships full of zombies, and I'm going to try and turn the tide of the war. Right. So we're kind of coming in on the first couple of hours of that kind of invasion happening.
It looks like we're having some...
Just drop you, Nick, and just have split screen.
Yeah, sure. It looks like we're having some problems with who has access to certain things. So I'm going to leave the lobby and see if that helps.
This is the real hardcore test.
You two. Which is hardcore
The double,
because it would be only 2 of you.
Yeah.
So let's see if that works when you two ready up.
That is exactly 100% more pressure.
Woo! Is it working?
There you go.
Okay. I don't know. My account doesn't
We're down a guy now,
to
Nick.
play
Rejected.
today.
Here
Right,
is
here we
said
go.
load movie. Yeah, so there's a massive fleet of airships. Jefferson has a nice furry coat. It looks very
Looking
warm in
fly.
the wind. Drosten's got his beautiful cap, his beautiful tartan cap. Yeah, we see Berlin. It's under attack. The Russians, historically, were the first to lay siege to Berlin as it was kind of falling at the end of the war. So we're kind of dropping in as the Russians are starting to try and take back Berlin, or take Berlin from the Nazis, but
Right.
the zombies are kind of the extra fun element in there that's going to change the tide of things.
And I'll say one of my favorite things about, I guess I could say about Call of Duty World War II in general, is how great the cutscenes look. And this is just
beautiful.
another continuation. It's so hyper-realistic, especially like the intros and everything. This looks incredible.
Yeah, those guys do a good job. It looks awesome.
And I like where like this story has gone this time as well, in the sense that kind of like the past zombies that we've seen were kind of this like goofy, very like artistically bright and things.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like the kind of horror elements that things have gone back to. Can you talk a little bit about like what was in the decision this time to go back to kind of Nazi Zombies' roots, go back to the horror elements and things like that?
Yeah, so yeah, it's obviously a very different tone, and we felt like the back to the roots kind of motto for this entry in the series kind of fitted pretty well with so Sledgehammer have a lot of developers that are kind of ex-Dead Space, so there's a lot of kind of good horror pedigree at the studio, and there was a real passion, I think, for trying to push more of this kind of gritty, more brutal, kind of, really horror-y vibe, where, as you say, like some of the previous entries have gone in an awesome direction, but it's been, a lot more colourful, a lot more character. We've tried to go on, see how gritty we can make it to fit that kind of.
I mean, those that remember when it first came out way back when, it was like it was pretty scary. I remember those first couple times I played with friends, like you play in the basement with all the lights off, and it was like very scary. And you knew right from the get-go, I think, when you start playing in World War II, even with the prologue, like there's that jump scare.
Yeah, the prologue
right at the
really. There's some good YouTube clips out there of people getting hit by that. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I played the Final Reich. We have some really cool systems in place that kind of push the jump scare back to like a lot more.
I like it when
very
they drop down and you hear like that sound.
Yeah, we've got a little stinger, like the orchestral stinger. Yeah, we've got some really cool stuff. And yeah, we've just kind of we've pushed this. This now is more into the historical fiction side of things. Before it was kind of, it could be believed that Straub had this kind of mystical base underneath some Bavarian village, but now we've definitely gone like, this is alternate history. This is the zombies' history.
Right.
So it's gone a little bit more kind of fantastical in that way, but we're still keeping it like the starting area, the underbelly. It's just like the sewers and the basements where the people will just kind of try and retreat to as the zombies arrived in Berlin, and it's kind of full of these kind of like.
So that's basically where we are now is we're kind of like in the underbelly of Berlin.
Yeah.
And we came in through this right there. That was like kind of the
the drop pod.
Through.
So that drop pod that came down the load movie, that's crashed in. We penetrated like a few stories deep into Berlin now, and it's just kind of like trying to work out where am I, like what's going on outside. You know nothing. You can't see anything right now of what's happening in the outside world.
Right.
So it's just kind of just getting your bearings a little bit and starting to progress out into the rest of the map.
Right. And is this going to? I mean, I'm sure these guys, are pro players. They're going to get there. But are we going to ascend to the street level?
We are. That should be pretty soon. That's a few doors away. Yeah. So that'll be the next big kind of beat. Is just. At the start, the characters themselves are like, where are we? What is this? But then as we start to get outside, we'll get to see the scale of the invasion, see what's really happening outside. We're just about getting to there now, I think.
Now, this is the same situation where it's kind of, I thought one of the other cool things about zombies this year is that it's more so kind of like a raid, where there are specific objectives that aren't clearly stated. Like, I know playing the Final Reich, no one really told you exactly what to do or what was going to happen. You could kind of like figure things out. But for like example, I think the switches was one of the first times where I was like, we're hitting all the switches. Like, why isn't it working? I think Richie and I were playing. It was like, we have to hit the switches in a particular order.
Yeah.
So is it the same moving forward with this kind of DLC?
So we had, historically in Zombies, at the very kind of genesis of the series, Treyarch did some awesome stuff with kind of just like smaller Easter eggs, but then over the course of the series development, really the community were really engaged with those things.
Right.
It's kind of like this very old school mentality of like nowadays most games kind of just serve everything to you on a platter, and the Zombies hardcore stuff is like the Easter egg path is a little more about just like this thing. You won't be able to find out how this works or what this does straight away, and it's more about putting in the time, really trying to find those things out like a treasure hunt,
Right.
So there's still that there. In the Final Reich, we're actually much more explicit with. We have this notebook feature which still exists, but it would tell you exactly. It would highlight objectives for you and tell you what needs to be done. It was like a little more friendly to the casual players, but we got some good feedback from the community that we decided to pare that back in some way. So now you get the notebook when you press the middle button on the PlayStation controller. It'll show you here's the set of objectives that you have available. Yeah, so this is the intro onto our street, right? So you get a nice sense of the scale.
Wow, look at this.
But yeah, we strip back a little bit. So now we still have a defined Easter egg path that will get you to the end of the experience, where you'll progress all the way through all these fun objectives and get cool rewards along the way. But we're not super explicit about it. We want the community to spend the time hunting all those things down.
And I think this is a pretty much, you're the perfect person to ask. When coming up with the level design for things like that, and adding these Easter eggs and adding these things like the Tesla gun and things, how much do those additions play a role when you're coming up with the overall level design?
So initially when we kind of build the vision for the map, we have like a loose idea of like a rough narrative. The DLC has a story, and we know roughly what that is, so we want to play with that. We're also trying to kind of develop the theme of the map in a way. Like, what's the coherent underlying glue that ties it all together and makes it an interesting thing that you can kind of wrap your head around. So for us, that was kind of like the war machine in a way. It was kind of this idea of so Straub. As we progress further along, you'll see that the airships have a bit more to be involved in this than just being distant things in the sky. They drop drop pods, which are the doors that you just came through. Like one of those doors was a drop pod that would have come in within the last kind of few hours fictionally. We have this enemy type called the Sizzler, which is the kind of fiery guy that you might see in some of our marketing. He doesn't just spawn from like a spawn closet. He is dynamically generated through a turret that's on the airship. Like the turret will fire down, hit him with this big energy generating bolt, and that will sizzle him, turn him on fire, and then he'll run after you, faster, stronger, harder to hit.
Now this was in Resistance, right?
What was in Resistance?
This particular Sizzler we're talking
No,
about.
no, he's new. He's new to DLC.
Okay, he's new.
New to War
Because I was
Machine,
gonna say maybe I shouldn't get that far.
No,
That's why
he's brand new.
Oh,
we love him.
okay.
He's like, for me, he's like the hero character of the map, just because he embodies the whole ecosystem of what this is. You know, the zombies are the whole fiction behind our zombies is they're powered by pain. So Straub, when he was generating all these things, if you really look at these character models, like the artists have done an awesome job. They're like full with like bolts and things that are trying to extract the maximum amount of pain from a zombie.
Right.
And because it's kind of fight or flight, they choose to fight, and that's the reason they're attacking you. It's not just some like weird virus. You know, these are genetic. These are engineered through Straub to be this future soldier in his vision.
Yep.
But then after he's made all these zombies and he has this airship tech, he's like, oh, well, maybe there's something else I could do to make them even worse, like even more effective. So he developed this technology where he can just remotely sucker punch these guys with this big bolt that sets them on fire, essentially, and that kind of doubles their effectiveness. So it's kind of showing his iterative approach to warmongering.
Are there any other new kind of challenges that you can, I don't want to spoil anything, but any other new enemies that you can talk about other than the Sizzler? Is it pretty much lot of the same?
So we have the like core subset of enemies that have existed through our new entry, but we also have some later enemy types we won't really talk about here. We don't want to spoil everything, but we've teased him already in some of the marketing. There's some cool stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and some cool tools to combat him as well.
And weapon-wise, is there anything? Is the bat?
So as you can see here, we have the bat is new.
Okay.
We have a bunch of melee weapons. Some of them are available in the map from the get-go. So the bat that was just picked up, you can find. There's a knife and an axe that are also available. Just kind of as soon as you unlock all the map, they're available for you. They're cool and they're different from the shovel, which is our default weapon. But there's also some kind of really cool upgrades to those that you can get through as you progress through the Easter egg path. So the more you progress through the map, the more interesting ways you'll find to melee zombies.
Now it looks like we're in a museum now. So we've seen kind of like a theater area. This looks like a museum.
Yeah. So this is like we're really proud of the artists have done an awesome job of kind of making sure that each of an important part just in level design in general is making sure that we have. Thematically, each of the areas feels different in the map. Helps with navigation, helps landmarking. So this is our museum area, and this was kind of where fictionally the Germans were pretty. In fact, historically the Germans were pretty fascinated in kind of the difference in biology between kind of like who they deemed to be, the master race and who they did not deem to be, right? So this kind of is a little slice at perhaps some of the things they might have been doing at the time, where like they were just dissecting the anatomy of bodies and saw this examination and stuff. It's really creepy. It's really cool. In fact, one of the melee weapons is embedded in one of the bodies in this room. So a lot of the Easter egg stuff is housed in here. We have some cool stuff in this room, definitely.
And I must say, I'm pretty impressed with the two playing right now. This is pretty impressive just for two guys.
Yeah, it's gonna get dicey quickly. I'm sure they're gonna start making noises that aren't really pleasant. But it's wave 8. It's early days.
I do love the theater area because there are so many like zombie and kind of like World War II and like those movies and whatnot that include kind of the aesthetic of like the movie theater in Berlin and whatnot. You've seen it so many times in different movies and things. That it naturally fits here, I feel like, along with the museum. Yeah,
so it was actually originally a theatre, but then our art director, Sandy, shout out Sandy, was kind of focused on turning it more into kind of like a sinful place. Movie theatre is pretty kind of, there's movie theatres in lots of places, but it's actually a cabaret club in our map.
Oh, it is?
It's a cabaret, so it's got kind of that lustful vibe to it, and we have a lot of the storytelling that is going on within the space. Feeds into other areas. So the area that we started in had some apartment buildings in there, and one of the people that lived in the apartments was a dancer at the cabaret.
Yeah.
And she has her own little story, which is kind of tied into some of the weapons and unlocks you can get throughout the map. So we have a lot of kind of cool storytelling that is imbued in the themes for some of these areas, definitely.
Yeah. Ooh. We're gonna see if I can join the next one whenever you guys lose. I don't know what's going on.
No pressure, guys.
Yeah. Nope.
If you can survive the whole time, he doesn't even get touch control.
Yeah. So please survive. So I don't have to.
So there you just saw one of the things we're pretty pleased with is we weren't going to show the kind of like. It's rare that you see the impact of zombies on humans. You know, typically in most zombies experiences, you're just 4 players. There's no other kind of NPCs in the map.
Right.
So in this, you'll have the chance to see these scenes where you'll come across a zombie just ripping apart a Russian soldier, just like in the middle of the street.
Now, if you're able to save him, is it possible?
You can't say he's unsavable. He is unsavable. Okay. Unfortunately, yeah. Once the zombie gets his hands on him, he's toast. But yeah, it's cool to kind of have that flavor. You know, it's unusual in zombies.
Now, right now, what is their current objective? Because we've come pretty far. They're now 9 waves in.
They are. They're playing the wave mode for sure. So right now, once you get out onto the street, it's very clear that there's a big threat to Berlin, and they want to try and stop it. There is a radio outside on the street. If you approach the radio, which they might have already done, I'm not sure if that happened.
I did press the radio. I found it.
Yeah. Okay. So there would have been some dialogue from a friendly Russian called Mikhail, who's on the other end of the radio. His interests are in stopping the airships, as you would expect. But he's just transmitting this message through all the frequencies. We don't know what frequency it is that we want to that you need to contact him on, but we clearly have a lot of options when it comes to frequencies.
Yeah.
So our main objective right now is to work out, you know, where do we find this Russian guy? What frequency do we need to transmit to him? So in the church at the back of the map, there is some tools that we will use to solve that puzzle. Okay.
And these are some of the more early objectives, because obviously there's...
Yeah, this is like the first layer, basically, of objectives. Yeah. This is just kind of like,
And these that we're walking by, all these openings, those are also those drop pods, right?
Yeah, so some of our doors. This is one of the things I think feeds into the whole character of this map, is that in Final Reich and the Darkest Shore, those were both facilities built by Straub and by the German military. And these were places where if you saw an armor machine or if you saw a door, someone had designed that door because that was part of the facility. But obviously in the streets of Berlin, no one's been building doors and gun buys into the architecture, right? So we have to find a way to contextualize those within the world of Berlin. So all the zombies infrastructure that you'll see that the players are used to is kind of improvised, and you know, the drop pods are just coming from the sky and suddenly they're doors, and the gun buys have probably been dragged in by soldiers as they got dropped in from the sky, and then you'll see like these stacks of gun buys that you know, it's a very different flavor from a lot of the other experiences where everything's kind of like very, you know, geometric and placed in a specific way. You know, you'll find gun buys that are like up in the air above you because they've just landed that way, you know.
Yeah.
So that was one of the interesting challenges with this map, and I think it's come out quite nicely.
So now, how much do you as a level designer have in terms of story when it comes to this? Does the team that kind of writes the narrative come to you, and then it's up to you to kind of create this compelling map and like create this compelling environment? Or do you have some say in, you know, what happens in the story, in the zombies story? So
there's kind of a base. So Cameron, our creative director, is the narrative genius behind this whole thing, and he had a kind of specific vision for what this would be, and it was going to be, you know, with the Final Reich, it was all about kind of research. You know, this was where Straub was doing all his testing. With the Darkest Shore, it was about production, so that was where all the zombies were just getting made, you know, en masse. It was this big production line just to get farmed into the airships, and then 2, Shadow Throne is about just war. It's about those things colliding. I mean, we knew we wanted that. We knew we had some story beats we wanted to hit, but that was a you know, kind of rough guideline. And within that, we had a lot of scope to craft the flow that we wanted, that we felt would be interesting. So yeah, the design team had a lot of power to kind of go through a bunch of ideas, a bunch of locations, and then pick what really felt right for this DLC.
Yeah, and I also, just as we saw that as he added kind of those upgrades, how did you guys come up with kind of the hand system, where it's like you're putting your hand down to like receive these kind of upgrades to yourself, whether it's like extra revives or like faster revives, things like that?
So typically in previous zombies, it's like a fairly disconnected process. You know, you go up to it and it's just you press the button, you get the power up.
Because what, gumballs?
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of how zombies worked before. You know, it's like chalk outlines on the wall, and it was you know, it was fairly abstract, pretty gamey, but it works, and it works great for those games. For our game, we are really embracing the kind of, in zombies, the more of the kind of gritty realism side of things. So there was more of an effort put into contextualizing a lot of these mechanics and a lot of those things that exist. So this is where the concept of Geistkraft and jolts came from. You know, you didn't just have points. You're harvesting energy and spending that energy to open doors. it's a loose wrapper, and obviously it's still a game, and we have to keep to the same zombies mechanics that are part of the series, but we just wanted to put a little bit more effort into kind of making them make sense. So the Blitz machines are kind of a step in that direction of, you know, here's my actual hand is physically interacting with the world. There's a reason, somewhat of a reason why I'm receiving these power-ups that isn't totally abstract, which felt like the right fit for our game.
And I love it because everything kind of fits to the story too, fits to that narrative, so that you're not just earning points and just doing waves and whatnot. Everything kind of has a purpose, even from like unlocking the weapons and those like little areas that open up and whatnot. It makes sense. I hate these guys, the big ones. They're the worst.
They hate you too.
They're the worst. Because like maybe you got like a pack of little ones and you accidentally shoot him in the back and you're like, you don't notice him and he starts charging towards you.
Just get good.
Scary. So this is the cabaret, right? I thought it was a movie theater.
This is the cabaret, yeah. Okay. So it's kind of got that kind of more red, you know, moody, lusty lighting, you know. We've got these really cool Egyptian-inspired figurines in there. It does have a screen in it, because it links into in some of our puzzles, but yeah, there's a big cabaret sign outside, and there's in the back area you'll see there's like dressing rooms and stuff where we've got like, where all the dancers would have their like wigs and makeup and all that stuff.
And you can go through there and fight, right?
You can fight. You can fight in there. Yeah, this has each of our areas has a lot of content that's kind of hidden beneath the surface, and all the Easter egg stuff. They're all in each of the buildings. There's something that's kind of relevant to you if you're looking for those hidden away secrets.
I don't think these two need me, to be honest. They're killing it. So
I mean, Jay is
Jay's off camera.
Jay's off camera. He's representing. He's the resident expert.
I don't need to give him too much praise because then, you know.
Maybe you guys should do the radio. Let's do an objective, because otherwise the waves are going to go crazy and you're going to get killed.
Now I noticed in one of the rooms we went into earlier, there were some names with some wavelengths, which were the two numbers.
Yes, yeah.
I'm assuming those are going to play a role
so
too.
Jay just went and looked at the serial code on top of the radio, which was LS1, was it? Right, okay.
Okay.
That is a randomly generated code that then will tie in with the table of codes that you saw before, which is in the church.
So it's always going to be different?
Always going to be different.
Okay.
Because part of the, like what we want to do in zombies is not, like we don't want it so that once you've learned how to do it, it's the same every time and it's easy to do. You know, it should be a test every time of your skills. So you have to plug that information into this matrix of frequencies, work it out from there. So it just requires a bit more work and encourages teamwork as well. Because you could, the ideal situation would be that you leave some people in the church, some people by the radio, and they can communicate with each other.
And I love that it changes too.
Yeah.
Because most people would say, okay, we figured out the.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it the first time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now we can quickly rush during wave one and try to open up, you know, that doorway and get there and just put it in.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Where we can, we try and make sure that it's not just completely playable through.
And there's no way you'd be able to guess. This is. Yeah. There's far too many numbers.
Yeah. It would be a pain to do.
Yeah.
It's certainly the nicer thing to do to actually just unlock the doors and go with it.
Oh, it's getting hairy.
That's what you get when you get a wave 14 before you've done the first objective. Some hardcore.
So what went into kind of the thought process behind kind of the new ways that the zombies kind of enter the map? Because I noticed in this one, they seem to be crawling out of some of those locations inside the museum, like crawling out of exhibits. Then we see, obviously, those little holes down there at the bottom. Those play a role. What was kind of the thought process between like, having them come drop down from the ceiling and stuff like that?
So we didn't actually develop any new, we call those traversals, the animations they do to enter the scene. We didn't develop any new ones for the Shadow Throne, but you might have seen more or less of them in previous DLCs based on the kind of environments. Like that's a big thing for us. I think you'll see a lot more drop downs, like things coming from above in this map, just because the world is so destroyed and it's very easy to have kind of holes in ceilings and ledges and things for people to drop off. So yeah, that's kind of a big part of the core, because a lot of focus is put on the Easter egg experience and making sure that those kind of secrets are interesting and varied and that people have enough content there. But there's also a large portion of the zombies community that plays it to see how far they can get, right? Like what wave can I get to that's highest? So for those people, we need to make sure that there is, if I sit out in the middle of the street, that I'm not, I'm still threatened, because it would be very easy to not have spawners there and, you kill a bunch of guys and you're just sat there waiting for the next zombies to spawn. So we do put a lot of focus into making sure that each of the areas is porous enough to have enough spawn closets so we can get guys coming out at you from interesting angles.
Yep.
Try and keep it varied, so you'll have some guys come out through the floor, some guys drop down, some through the walls. So a lot of it's just kind of iteration. We do a lot of user testing. We'll get like heat maps back that say, oh, this area of the map was too easy, and maybe there was like a glitch or an exploit that meant you could sit somewhere and not get attacked by zombies. So we try and fix as many of those as possible before we ship. And then we make sure that there's enough spawners so that there's no dead ends where you can just sit in the corner and camp, and there's no way anybody of the zombies can get to you. So a lot of our kind of like core level design work is just making sure those things kind of stand up well.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, for me, I found it pretty interesting when things they show up when you least expect it too, and you feel like you're in a safe zone, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm okay. And then 2 seconds later, they crawl out of like the ceiling, and you're like, "Wait, what? Like how?" Yeah,
you had some bad luck there.
Well, and I startle easily, and so
we have a cool system that's kind of that picks the zombie spawners with some degree of randomness, but also we don't want zombies to get you as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
We don't. Zombies would be too easy if everyone spawned from really far away. You could just sit with a sniper rifle and not have to deal with them. So there's like we make sure the system has like a good mix of guys that are close to you. We try and vary the approach angles, so there's always kind of keeping it interesting, and you're never quite sure what to expect about where guys are coming from.
I'll say, when we had the review event, prior to the full game's release, obviously it was the first chance that a lot of the reviewers got to sit down and play the zombies mode, and I think that's one of like the distinct memories I have from any Call of Duty was sitting in that dark room and just having all the people play through the prologue and just hearing like a scream there and then a scream here and a scream there, and you're like, whoa, like what's going on? And then you play it and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was a fun thing for zombies because it's typically, I'm not sure if in the history there's been another kind of single player zombies experience, you know, right? So it gives us the tools to, when you're in a map with 3 other people, doing those kind of jump scares, is challenging because you could have, you want to spawn something in a position, but you can have 3 players invalidating that, right? So with the single player thing, Steve Broski at Sledge did an awesome job of kind of standing that up. We have some great kind of nicely staged, scripted scares that kind of give you that flavor straight away.
Oh, they're fantastic. I mean, even the light stuff right at the beginning, it shows that tonal difference between some of the previous entries in the series to where it is now.
Yeah, it's awesome. It sets up the narrative. You get a good introduction to the characters. You get a flavor of why this zombies is different. We instantly introduce the concept of Geistcraft and having the Überschnell and this context for why a lot of these things are happening, why the traditional zombies mechanics can exist in this environment. They made a cool little environment that you can kind of just get your feet wet in for the game mode if you've not experienced it before.
Now, we just saw something really cool a little while ago that's definitely pertains to the environment. So I'm pretty sure he used the jolts to charge one of the plane blades.
Yes, yeah. So we have each zombie's map will have traps in it, right? So you spend jolts. We try and contextualize like a really interesting way in the environment that these traps can exist.
Yep.
They're primarily useful in the late game. So if you get to like wave 50 or something, the bullet weapons at that point aren't doing a lot of damage to zombies. The zombies' health will continue to scale, but the weapons aren't that effective. But traps are insta-kill. So now the players have to kind of adapt their playstyle to be focusing more on those, because at that point you'll have a lot of money to spend, and traps are a good way to spend money, and you'll get those kills. So people trying to push waves, that's like a great way for them to do that. And each of the DLCs has had some really cool, like Darkest Shore had the fins on the submarine propeller that kind of like came out and beheaded things. It was awesome. We have some cool traps in the game for sure.
As a level designer, at what point do you add these traps? Is it after you've pretty much laid everything out, or do you have an idea when you've started? Okay, we know we're going to put some stuff.
Yeah, we start to we have like a checklist of things that we know the map needs when we start. Like traps, doors, like things that are the bread and butter of what zombies is that need to exist. So then as we start to kind of develop the character of the map and understand really what it is, we start thinking of ideas for traps. Like things that could work and things that play into the flavor of the map. So I really like the plane one because it's World War II, it's Berlin, a crashed bomber with the propellers kind of stuck up an angle. It kind of just fits perfectly with the history, right, and the fiction. So that's the real favorite. Another one that I quite like is the one in the cabaret. As I said earlier, all of our core mechanics we try and contextualize them in some way. So the blitz machines, which are the things where you get your power-ups,
Right.
there's actually loads of those in the map, more than are usable, because maybe like 10 of those were dropped in, but most of them got wrecked in the falling down, you know,
Right.
and now there's like only a few that actually work. And the one in the cabaret stage is actually like 3 or 4 of those that are all broken, and you go up and you charge them, and the kind of like the way that all those parts have like melded together as they've crash landed creates this electrical field on the stage in this big puddle. You know, so they all tie into the fiction in some
I think
way.
we saw that a
one,
little
yeah,
bit earlier. Yeah, there was like it kind of looked like Christmas lights almost on the
Yeah.
ground that were like sparking and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Richie, that's awesome. Richie, this is your first time playing this particular chapter of the zombie series. What are your like initial impressions so far?
This is really intense. I love the environment. Like, I feel trapped, but like I don't. There's always a little way to duck out of every situation. And the environment is beautiful. Like, just kind of running around is like nice graphically.
Yeah, the artist did a great job. Really good job. I think we should. Did we get the radio code, Jay? Did we get it sorted? Because one of the things I think would be cool to show is some of our new enemy types and the wonder weapon. But to do that, we need to get that sorted out.
Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to hit up the mystery box, but I don't. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
No.
Uh-oh.
I'm surrounded.
I shouldn't ask you a question.
they're
No,
wave
you're
17. They're trying to listen to what we're saying and also not
I
die
know,
at the same time.
like, it's like one of the challenges of especially streaming. That's why I respect
You're
streamers
doing great, Nick.
so much where it's like,
That's all right, Jay's
I
on
can't
it
play
now.
and ask good questions at the same time.
Was it LS1, Jay? Where's the map? Oh, is it?
All right, so there's LS, so 29.2.
Which map? Which region are we in on the map? If you look up to the left, it's Prignitz. Okay. So it's the bottom left.
Oh, so it applies to the map as well?
Yeah, the map's involved. So it's 50 and 29.5, I think. Whoa. So it's like a whole table of frequencies and things. You have to go do some busy work.
It's not even that there's a specific code. You're in a specific area. Will that area change?
Well, so the map is, the kind of fiction behind that is that this Mikhail, this Russian guy,
Right.
is in a region around Berlin somewhere, but that changes each time you play. So that area where you're at is like a German listening station where they're trying to like pin down where he is. Was it 50-29 or 29-50? Can't remember now.
50-29, I think.
Oh. 9. I might have to scrub the 50 back a bit.
Okay. Have there been any more of the, obviously you can pick a specific type of perk, whether it's like you're going to be a medic or, Richie, what are you?
Offense, I think.
You are? Okay. Or have there been any introductions for new kind of class systems, or are they going to just keep
Not
it?
in this one. Not to say they may be in the future, I'm not sure.
Cool.
But yeah, not in this one particularly.
What was the, I guess, the biggest challenge for you as a level designer for this particular chapter?
So I mean, the first 2 chapters were made by the Zombies team that were on the shipping game. There's a bunch of guys that I worked on the single player beforehand, so a bunch of us came over, and this was our kind of, for a lot of us, this was our first time even familiar with the mode at all.
Yep.
So I guess one of the biggest challenges for people like me who hadn't played a huge amount of Zombies beforehand was just kind of learning what was cool about this mode, what it is that draws like such a big community, because I didn't have a huge idea that there was this huge following of the Easter egg thing. It's like people get so invested in it, and it's such this kind of interesting old school vibe to it where not everything is handed to you on a platter, and it's hard. Like you have to really try a lot of things and experiment and try and find the solution. It takes them a long time to do, and a lot of effort, right? So it was kind of learning what makes that compelling. What kind of challenges are good to keep that experience fresh, to make all types of the community happy in that regard. And also just about learning what makes a good Zombies map, So, wait, let's double check. That was the right one. 50, 29.5. Did we read the code right, Jay? Maybe we didn't. So for example, in single player on story, there's this concept of cover, because you have to hide behind things and fire your gun, but enemies in Zombies don't have guns, so cover is not a concept we have to really think about. There's like a whole different way of thinking in Zombies that is just, you have to spend a little bit of time getting familiar with that, understanding how all that works.
What were things that you think that you took as like lessons from campaign and kind of brought to zombies, I guess?
I think there are some core design theories, kind of core design concepts that are applicable across kind of every mode. So even in multiplayer. So things like just theming and navigation. You know, we want each of the areas of the map to have a distinct theme that is memorable. You know, you're like, oh, I'm in the cabaret, oh, I'm in the museum. You know, it doesn't all just want to feel the same.
Right.
It helps for players communicating to each other about where they are. It also helps as you're just walking around the map to have landmarks and things that are familiar to you. So that's something that's kind of clearly very applicable across all modes. And in general, I think just ensuring that the Easter egg steps, you know, kind of the story, if you will, has a logical kind of through path to it. You know, that's something that single player on story we spend a lot of time making sure that you're aware of your objective, you're aware of what it is that you need to do at all times, because we don't want people to get lost and frustrated. And you know, the second you come out onto the streets, onto this map, you see this big airship in the sky, and that's basically the overarching objective for the whole experience. You know, it's like stop Straub, essentially. So. We definitely, I think there are some things that are, you know, we've done a lot of in single player that really helped kind of mold this into its own thing. Sure.
I thought single player was fantastic this year as well.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed it. And again, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, cutscenes and cinematics, they were absolutely gorgeous. You feel like you're watching a movie, and all the characters and whatnot, and like the maps in which you fight on. Like historical accuracy, it was great.
Yeah, that was
I really enjoyed it. I think it was one of my favorite parts of the game when it first came out.
Oh, that makes me warm. Makes me warm in the heart.
It was great. Because we had the chance to kind of start it during the review event, but I didn't have a chance to finish it, so I had to wait until release and then kind of finish it and see how things ended. For those of you who haven't finished it, you should, because there's. You think it's going somewhere, then it goes another direction. You're like,
no spoilers, good.
What? It's great, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Did we just want to work out the radio, Jay? We got it? It's in?
All right.
Oh, so the flares. We got to do the flares now. You got to get that lock.
Okay,
there we go. Flares are up.
All right.
Are there multiple flares, or is
there's just that flare box, but now that's going to attract the attention of Straub's airship, and if we look in the sky, we'll see his kind of big obelisk of a ship just start to rumble in. So this is where things get super interesting. So we have, like I kind of was talking about earlier, there's this big turret that he's got on his airship this time around. In the final Reich, he had one that was kind of something that was attacking the players. This time, he's realized the effectiveness of enhancing his own zombies. So he's got this huge turret underneath. In order to use his turret, he's going to fire down those anchors that you can see on the side there. So when he gets into position, they'll fire down, lodge into the ground, and stabilize him, which then you'll be able to use against him as the Easter egg path goes ahead. But once he's stabilized, he is going to engage this cannon, and we'll start to see these guys. You just briefly got a glimpse of them there. So that cannon fires down this bolt. It starts to charge up. We get a huge amount of Geistkraft electricity just kind of warping across their entire body. Slowly starts to char their skin, burn them alive. And that just increases the level of pain to new limits tenfold. And now suddenly they're faster, they're scarier, they're harder to hit, they do more damage, they can attack from a longer range.
They could be scarier already.
Yeah.
Right.
Or faster.
They sound incredible. The sound guys done an awesome job. You can instantly, as soon as you hear those guys screech, you're like, okay, it's game on.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah, they'll really get you. So they really change up the kind of core zombies experience, because typically at the end of rounds, if people are trying to solve Easter eggs, what they'll do is they'll
leave one alive.
They'll leave one alive. But suddenly this turret's going to warp this one guy that you've left alive into this horrible thing that you have to try and fight around. So it doubles the challenge for those end of wave encounters.
I'm one of those guys.
You for doing that.
I am 1000%. I think when Richie and I were first playing, when the game first came out, we would do that. Like I think that's like a thing that people have done for years.
Yeah, it's part of it. We don't it's like it's part of the series. But we thought, oh, here's a way we could make it a little more interesting for people. They're so used to this element of zombies. Here's a way we can kind of put our own twist on it. And
you had said that you guys kind of monitor its development. And you see where like exploits are being used.
Yeah, we try. We have an awesome internal QA team. We get external QA from Activision as well. We sometimes don't catch them all. I saw one this morning that people managed to find, but we'll get to fixing them. It's a fun, because obviously you can't really simulate releasing your game to thousands of players. So
And it's
get
so
some
interesting. There have
bugs.
been games that have been out for who knows how long, and people are still finding new things. Like,
Yeah.
it's impossible
Yeah.
to like stay on top of everything. I feel like.
There's some very abstract things you can do, which you just when you've just got a small internal QA team, like
Yeah.
5-10 people, it's hard to kind of catch everything. So, but we try our best, and I think from reading all the feedback we've had so far, it's gone pretty smooth. We're pretty pleased with it.
Yeah. So you guys went live 9 p.m. Pacific last night.
Yes.
Midnight Eastern.
Yeah.
Obviously, people have gotten their hands on it, so I'm sure they're. Oh, we can't see the comments. I was going to say, for those who have played, I'd love to hear like some of the questions they have for you.
I would also like that.
Shoot, I wish we had it. But, cool. I'll just keep asking questions.
Save those questions.
Save them. You can tweet at Sam. That's just how it's going to have to work. So right now, they fired the flare. Or well, first they did the radio, then
Yeah.
they fired the flare.
Yeah.
Now next step, I'm assuming, has something to do with the airship.
Yeah, so we want to kill this airship, right? It's doing bad things. It's anchored itself in the ground. So once we build the wonder weapon, which we can maybe start doing now, we can start to interact with that ecosystem. So
Yeah.
there are these anchors that have been fired into the ground. They're kind of, you can see they're kind of constantly kind of whirring, and they have this gear system on there that's kind of like keeping the airship level.
Yeah.
It's like there's all this wind and I don't know, like enemies firing at it. It has to kind of stay stable for the gun to work. But we can kind of abuse that technology. So something we can do is by either killing zombies near them if they're on the ground, which is kind of the traditional soul bucket from zombies, or by developing the wonder weapon and firing at this thing, we can actually overcharge it, which slowly kind of winches the airship towards the ground, which gives us a better chance of finding a way to kind of attack it in some way.
Right.
So that's kind of the next step, would be building the wonder weapon. Jay, I don't know if you want to risk trying to find the bits for it. So the first thing you have to do is melee kill a sizzler, which is not a particularly easy thing to do, especially on wave 20.
Okay.
But I would say,
Insta-kill
the
right
IGN
now.
stream, we hit 21 with 4 people, so if you can get past 21 with 2 people,
I'm
then
so impressed that you two, Richie, you're killing it.
not your first rodeo.
Yeah, this is not.
Yeah.
your
Look at
first
my
rodeo.
shirt. No way.
We're using a bat over here at wave 20.
Yeah, no
Jay
messing
just
around.
doesn't care. This is unbelievable.
True savage.
This is the most savage move possible.
Yeah, so I think we should try and melee kill a sizzler. Maybe in the wave break we can see if we can start getting some progress towards getting the other parts. But the other part for the battery for the wonder weapon could be in one of 3 places randomly. So we need to do a little bit of hunting.
So it will always be somewhere different?
Yeah, there's some predefined spots for it, but yeah, we randomly generate within those 3.
Because I was going to say, what is the comparison to building the wonder weapon to the Tesla gun in the Final Reich, where it was like definitive path of like, use the charge system, kill them inside the circle, and then bring them down. This is a little bit more of like a scavenger hunt, I guess you could say.
It's somewhat of a scavenger hunt, but you have to have done a lot of the kind of steps beforehand.
Yeah.
I think the interesting part about ours is that because in Final Reich and Darkest Shore, the weapons that you found are kind of already in development by Straub in some way. They were within his facility. They were just kind of experimental technology. But this is like a pure hack job from our characters. There's an old blunderbuss in the Smuggler's Den, which is the area we're kind of in now. Once you've found that, you have to, a blunderbuss by itself isn't going to be particularly effective. It's just another bullet weapon. But if you find some other parts and you cobble them together, then we can develop something that has kind of more interesting fire modes to it and is, a real beast within the context of the DLC 2 weapons.
And I don't know what it is about like scavenger hunts, especially in like wave-based modes. It makes things so much more interesting because you're trying to like manage those 2 sides where it's like, okay, don't die, but also be like consciously looking around the map for these pieces.
Yeah, we try not to do too much of it because it can be if you have a lot of those things where it's just like I'm searching the map for a thing, that challenge is it can get old fast. So we try and keep using very sparingly. This felt like an interesting place to do it, especially in the context of getting the sizzler. Because when you melee kill a sizzler, you actually take out the bolt that's in his back, and that's one of the parts that you use to construct the gun.
Okay.
So that's like less scavenger hunt and more of like, I need to go find one of these guys and let him get close enough to me to melee kill him. And not just a regular melee kill, you have to do a long melee, which is the one where you aim and then you do the melee, which is a big paired animation where you kind of scoop his head off with the shovel.
With the shovel.
Yeah.
I don't know what the bat looks like when you do it.
The bat would also have it, any melee weapon is fine. The shovel is also the one you get by default, but we've added these new ones in. The nail bat is one of those. That kind of, I think that like lops his head off in very
It is like so
fashion.
satisfying when you do use the shovel to like kind of dig in, pop the head off, But it takes a significant amount of time.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the areas we really look to focus in for this DLC. Was first let's add in a big selection of melee weapons that people can choose from. The more you get down this Easter egg path, the more you have to choose from with more interesting characteristics. But also balancing that so the shovel, it gets you that one-hit kill, but it's a long time spent doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
So what are some other ways we can address the balance? What are some other playstyle choices that you could make? So, for example, the dagger, which is one of the other ones that we have here. We did want each of the melee weapons to be slightly better than the shovel. We kind of like the idea of just, the shovel's the base one, you can have it if you want to, but here's 3 ones and they're cool. They're really cool. And so the dagger, for example, is quick. It gets that kill in very quickly. But some of the other weapons have more aggressive characteristics to them that make them more interesting. So it's kind of about that playstyle trade-off.
Which is interesting because, it's like, okay, do I go for speed or power?
Yeah.
Or it's like that you're trying to like make these decisions the whole time.
Yeah. And there's some really cool, like once people get through the entire thing, some of our guys in QA have really kind of spent some time really finding like the optimal loadout that gets you really high waves, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a real combination of our wonder weapons, some of the melee weapons, kind of taking the different parameters of each of those and kind of really turning it into something like a really cool, extraordinary way to play. If
you could put like an estimated time for someone maybe doing this for the first time, what do you think is like a realistic time if they can survive to figure out and complete a lot of the objectives?
It depends really. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what our internal like high score is from Super.
There we go.
There you go. So that'll get you the.
If you survive.
So there you go. He's got the bolt there. That's the first part. Now he needs to go into either the museum or the cabaret. I don't know if you've scouted out any of those locations yet, Jay, but there's 3 that you can find the battery. Yeah, playthrough length. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably a couple of hours.
It is.
But I'm not. I know. There's also different ways you can play. You can play it solo. If you're a real masochist, you can try and do some of these things like just on your own, which is I'm internally impressed by people that are able to do that. So.
It's we had a guy who was at the event way back when, and he's playing alone, and it was just unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real finesse in the loadouts and all those kinds of things as well. Like you watch like Jay's loadout, it's like all the self revives and there's a lot of different. It's like that meta game before you even enter the match. It's like what's the best way, and perhaps some maps have different optimal loadouts, like maybe camouflage, which is the thing that turns you invisible for a little bit. It might be very effective in this map because there's a lot of moments where you need to be stuck on like the radio, or some of our other puzzles kind of have you locked in place doing something. So maybe being invisible then is useful.
And this was obviously something that going back to what you were talking about, kind of learning and like adapting from story from the campaign to here. Obviously those things change the way you play.
Yeah.
Creating those custom loadouts. That's not really a huge factor.
Yeah, in story we like to kind of craft exactly. At least in World War II, we kind of we know what weapons kind of work well in this situation and what's interesting, and maybe there are some bespoke mechanics that are interesting in that space as well. So we kind of craft a little bit more of what it is that you have available. Obviously, when you kill enemies, you can pick up any gun, so players have freedom to go and explore and find those things too. But yeah, zombies and I guess multiplayer in general as well as like a much more of a play your way from the outset.
Yeah. Well, there were obviously some really awesome additions in the campaign itself, like how your relationship with your kind of your squad. There's certain things where it's like, okay, I get ammo from so and so. I get
squad
help
abilities.
from, and like that's obviously a new way of doing things because I don't think that's been done in the past.
Yeah, it's really like one of our core tenets of the single player was brotherhood. And the fact that your whole squad has got abilities that directly tie into your progress is kind of really helps push that theme for sure.
I remember because there were a couple abilities that like I didn't realize how to use until towards the end game, where it was like, oh wow, like I didn't know that I could
some cool ones in
call in like an airdrop.
Yeah. There's some effective things for sure.
That's so funny.
Jay, was that the battery on that one there? Is that it on the? Yeah, there it is. It's on the gun buy on the floor. There you go. On the left.
Does it glow a little bit?
Yeah, it's like a little red glow on it.
A little bit of
Did you grab it? He's got it. All right.
He's got the battery.
He's got it. So now we just need to go back to the smuggler's den and we can build the wonder weapon, which is our kind of hero weapon for this DLC.
Wave 22.
Yeah, you've already beat the previous record with 2 people.
Richie, are you stressed or are you feeling good?
He's sweating.
That's just always. But right now, things are getting a little heavy, but Under control still.
Good, nice, measured.
Probably gonna die like in the next minute.
I don't believe that.
After having said that.
And knock on wood. There you go. You're good.
But if we can get these wonder weapons.
Yeah, the wonder weapon will
that'll
be
be
a
clutch.
good. Yeah, that's kind of like one of the big late game weapons, you know, because the bullet weapons don't scale. The wonder weapon beam attack that you'll see in a little bit does scale slightly, so it's much more effective in the late game.
And now everybody in your team can pick up a wonder weapon, right?
Yeah, they can. So
Okay.
I hesitated. I was like, am I gonna be stranded without a gun?
No, I was fearing for Jay's life there. That looked like he had it down. I've trusted him.
Go to him.
All right, so here we go. Here's the wonder weapon. So
Whoa!
that's the alt fire. This is the beam attack. It's like a focused Geistcraft energy. However, the primary fire, which is the kind of interesting thing that makes this weapon, I think, is that energy is not an ammo that you can just pick up. You actually have to scavenge that from enemies.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that is you fire these bolts into enemies that you scavenge, and rather than them burning the zombies, it actually takes the energy from them and just slowly drains them of energy. So you'll see when he fires a bolt into an enemy that there's like a warping effect that shows the energy kind of coming into you, and you'll see the ammo counts.
And so that's how you charge the ammo for this weapon.
So it's kind of its own self-contained ecosystem. There's no ammo in the map. It's essentially infinite ammo if you can manage it.
Okay.
Right. So
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
If you are like managing
good.
yourself correctly.
Yeah, if you play good, you can use this thing just purely by itself. But it's hard, you know, because you can run out of beam energy quickly, and the higher waves you get, those bolts are doing much less damage. Oh, let's go. Don't worry. This isn't his first rodeo either.
Okay.
No, okay.
How many more self-revives does he have? That's what I'm scared about.
Keep you guessing. But yeah, the bolts do much less damage the higher waves you get. So they're not really doing anything to zombies, but they're still slowly charging your energy. So
and you were saying again that this gun does scale with the zombies.
The beam attack does, but the bolts don't.
Bolts don't.
So the beam is effective, really late game. You know, that's the effective way to play. But the bolts don't do a lot of damage, but they will still charge your gun, still charge the ammo for the beam. So you need to kind of keep engaging with that loop, with that ecosystem, for it to be effective, which is just a different play style compared to most other weapons in zombies.
Richie, did you go get it?
No.
It's almost there.
I think it's down in that room, isn't it?
Yeah, if you go, where are you? Yeah,
I think it's back where you were.
If you go back, turn right, go down the stairs to your left. Yeah, it's in the little room next to you in there. If you turn right.
Oh,
yeah.
look I think it's right there.
Yeah, there you go. Pick up that bad boy.
Ooh.
So you start with 100 energy. So if you do left trigger,
okay.
people can't see this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We're like,
We're helping him out.
Go back to screen one. It's okay.
Jay's over here just wrecking people with the
Jay's
Thompson, and we're like dissecting how to get the weapon that none of you can see.
You can see there, he was killing the zombie next to the tether. That did like a soul bucket warping effect. So that slowly starts to overcharge the tether. And then as the tether's been charged, the airship's just getting closer and closer to the ground. And there's a damaged drop pod that's kind of tumbled out the side of this thing.
So you want to kill them around this?
Yeah, so they work as soul buckets, so you can kill zombies near them. But the other tethers in the world are not on ground level. So you have to work out how to get to those, and the way you do that is through the wonder weapon. So you can go, if they're suspended in the ceiling, you can fire the beam attack on this thing at the tether, and it will do the same job.
Okay.
And then once you've done all of those, there's a way that you can take on Straub a bit more directly.
Ooh. I don't know if we're going to get to it today.
It's a lot.
It's a lot?
It's a lot.
Okay, it's a lot.
Yeah, we're
not going to get to it.
We're not going to get to it. We're wave 23. We've done about 5% of what you need to do to get that far. But yeah, that's a fully charged tether there. So it's gone green. That one's done. We can move on to the others. Yeah. That's the wonder weapon.
We can read the subtitles on Richie's screen.
There you go.
Straub is asking if we think we can take down his Zeppelin.
What do you think? Maybe not today.
Maybe not today. Some other time.
He's won the battle, but not the war.
Now, obviously, with the COD Season Pass, there's 2 more entries left.
Yep. We have orders and contracts coming for zombies next week.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot more incentive to come back and keep playing this mode. Lots of rewards. So look out for that.
Oh, Richie.
Ooh.
I think you're gonna have to come.
Ooh, hold on.
Is this the?
Now of course they all.
Oh boy.
Hold on.
Oh my God. No big deal, dude.
No.
There's not
Killing
many
it.
people around
Killing
you.
it. Killing it.
Oh, that takes a lot.
That's a lot of time. Defuse that bomb.
Yikes!
Saved it.
I am.
These guys are the
so
dream team.
impressed.
These are the dream team.
Woo!
Jay's found himself a worthy
get outta
partner
here.
in crime.
Clearing a path. Okay.
Oh my god! I can't believe you survived. I really thought that was done. I was like, okay,
Pulled it from the brink.
moving on.
Saved it.
Jeez. How about in-house? What is kind of the collective wave record?
Oh god, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure.
No,
I
I'm
don't
leaving
think
now.
we have like we do stress tests where we just leave it on with like auto kill on, see how far.
Yeah.
Just to make sure like the game doesn't just fall
No,
over
those don't
once you
count,
get really high. I'm not entirely sure what the max
Okay.
wave is actually. I'm sure.
Oh!
23 internally. 23. You've
Not
nailed
bad.
it.
Now I can blink.
I'm sure we'll start to see the
Damn.
numbers coming up on the online though. That'll be fun. See how far.
Yeah, it's
people
only
get.
day one.
Yeah.
That was sick. All right. Well, number one, thank you, Jay, who's not on camera, but we're thanking
He should
him.
be.
He
Yeah.
should
Killing
be,
it.
because
He's a
he just
superstar.
made
That
a
wasn't
killing.
me.
My thanks to Richie in the house, dude.
Wow.
Who knew, man? You're an expert at this.
Dark horse.
Who knew? I don't know. Day one.
Dude, that was awesome.
Very
But
fun.
yeah,
Beautiful
Sam,
map. Crazy.
this has been awesome.
I'm glad.
so excited to play with Richie now that he knows that, I
Yeah.
can carry me on your shoulders.
Just the two of us,
You got a
dude. We don't need
supporting
two
friend
others.
available.
Do you have any questions before we get out of here?
I'm kind of cooling down, so
Yeah.
they'll come later.
like,
so
where's the
I'm
water?
good for now.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Sam, we want to thank you for
Thank you.
coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you for playing with us. Thank you for kind of giving us the background knowledge on everything zombies.
was
And for those of you guys, if you want to play it, obviously Season Pass is still on sale.
Yep.
You can purchase the individual
Yep.
DLCs
Yep.
if you want as well.
Yep.
So yeah, get out there and get it. And hopefully maybe we'll see you next time for the next zombies, right?
That'd be awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you next time on GameSpot. See you guys.